All right, we are live, and it is Wednesday evening at 7 p.m., and I'm so glad that you're watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. This is a very special online-only presentation of our Vision Night here at LifePoint Christian Church. You might be aware, as a church, we've got some really exciting things going. You've probably been hearing about it if you're watching online each week, or if you've been here in person. We had a couple of in-person Vision Nights last week, and we realized not everybody can get to those. So we wanted to do a special online-only Vision Night. Now, a couple of things. I want to say thank you to some of the members of our video team here at LifePoint who are here tonight helping me do this. Special shout out to Tamra, who's running our computer and stuff like that. Special shout out to Zach, who is running our cameras today. Brett is also here helping out, and Stephanie is helping out, so I really appreciate it. Thank those folks next time you see them. I'm going to give you sort of the whole story of what we're trying to accomplish, and at any time tonight, if you have a question, what I want you to do is text your question to 407-988-0991. Now, that's usually a number that we reserve for prayer requests and things like that, but tonight you can text your question into that number, and at the end of the presentation, I'll do my best to answer any of those questions that come in this evening. All right, so let's get started. A few weeks ago, actually a month ago, we celebrated 20 years as a church. It was a huge milestone for us as a church. It was exciting to look back over the years at some of the things that we had accomplished. And looking back is kind of fun. For example, when you look back at LifePoint, you see this guy. How many of you recognize Pastor Jan Puterbaugh? Way back in 2004, I think, with the special cowboy shirt. I think he still has that shirt. Maybe he'll wear it on Sunday. Or maybe you recognize this character, of course, our family pastor, Matt Clark. This is back in 2002, which is a long time ago, 20 years, and that was a part of a ministry they did called Kid Quest. Now, he hasn't changed very much, actually. He usually looks like that on most Sundays. I love looking back and thinking about 2010, where I actually dressed up like a rock for Easter. If you're watching, some of you might have been there, you might remember that, but I dressed up as a styrofoam rock, and I told the Easter story from the perspective of the rock that was rolled away. It was kind of fun, but we did lose a family or two after that Sunday. But some of you might remember, this was our setup in the gym as our sort of humble beginnings. We would get to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. Our setup crew would begin setting up the stage, the curtains, the drums, all the instruments, the screens, the lighting, the sound, the chairs. It was a huge endeavor, and we did that for about 8 years. We figured out that we set up almost 500 times in all the different places that we had set up. And then it was a great experience for us when we finally got to our brand new building here in Longwood. This is a photo from one of the very first Sundays, I believe, where we were here in this building. Of course, it doesn't look amazing, but we've done a lot of work inside the building over the course of many, many years. Now our new setup inside the auditorium looks fantastic. And of course, our setup in the rest of the building looks good too. I mean, Matt has done a great job creating these vibrant, colorful locations inside the building for our kids so they can learn about Jesus, they can grow in their faith too, and it looks great inside the building. Speaking of kids, I don't know if you were watching online a few weeks ago when we had our special Kids Blessing Sunday, but you might remember that we had about 20 kids, each of them in a t-shirt that said, "I'm the next," representing the fact that they're the next level of leaders at LifePoint. They're the next Sunday school teachers and pastors. Each of them came forward with their offering for Next. It was really special to see these young people bringing their money, and it was actually the first donation for the Next campaign. We raised $340, these young kids, of their own hard-earned money, nickels and dimes and quarters and pennies and some dollar bills and even a check. It was really, really exciting. Now, from the beginning, since we moved into this place in 2013, I've always said that when we get a building as a church, the building is just a tool. We've said this over and over and over again because it's so important for us to understand that the church is people, not the building. Sometimes you drive down the street and you'll see a building with an arched roof and a steeple and you go, oh, that's a church. But the truth is, it's not a church unless people are in it. The building is a tool. It's a tool that we use to reach people for Jesus. It's a tool that we use to be a light in our community. Now, here's the thing. Like any tool, you have to keep that tool maintained. If it's a saw, you have to keep it sharpened. If it's a drill, you might have to keep it oiled. If it's a computer, you have to keep it upgraded. And sometimes you actually have to add on to that tool or even sometimes replace the tool so that it is very effective. And that's what Next is all about. It's about making sure that this tool that we've been given as a church, this facility, is in tip-top shape, ready to reach the next generation for years and years and years to come. It's sort of like the parable of the talents. Now, some of you might be familiar with the parable of the talents. It's in the book of Matthew chapter 25. It's a story that Jesus told because he wanted to communicate this idea that everything that we have from God has been given to us to be used as a resource to bring him glory. So here's how the parable goes. There's a rich master, and he has 3 guys that are working for him. And the master's going to go away, and so he gives each of the individuals what the Bible says is a talent. Essentially, it's a certain amount of resources or gold. Now, if we did some of the math, each talent is worth about like $80,000 or something like that. So it's quite a bit of money. Now, to the first guy, he gives, the Bible says, 5 talents. To the second guy, he gives 2 talents, and to the last guy, he gives 1 talent, and then he goes on his way. Now, while the master is gone, the first individual takes those 5 talents, or roughly, what is that, $300,000 or something, and he takes that large sum of money, and he puts it to work. I don't know if he invests in something. I don't know if he builds something. I'm not sure if he, oh, sorry. Thank you. I don't know if he puts it into a bank or something, but whatever he does while the master is gone, he takes that 5 talents and he doubles it. He turns it into 10 talents. Pretty good, 100% growth. The second guy takes the 2 talents and he does something with it too. We're not sure what he does. Maybe he's a very savvy businessman, but he takes his 2 talents and he turns it into 1 talent. Now, the third guy only has 1 talent, although still a significant amount of resources. But he's afraid, and the Bible says that he takes his talent and he buries it in the ground. Now, the master comes back, and to the first guy, he says, hey, I'm back. What did you do with the 5 talents I gave you? And this guy says, well, I took those talents, I put them to work, and I got you 5 more talents, so now you have a total of 10 talents. And the master says to him, well done, good and faithful servant. To the second guy, says, how did you do? The second guy says, well, I took these 2 talents and I turned them into 2 more talents, so you have a total now of 4 talents. Again, he doubled his resources. And the master said, well done, good and faithful servant. But the last guy says, well, master, I know that you are a stern man, that you take your finances very seriously, and I was afraid that I would lose the money that you gave me. So what I did is I buried it in the ground to make sure that we wouldn't lose any of it. So here's your 1 talent back. And the Bible says that the master looked at that guy and he said, you are a lazy and wicked servant. Why didn't you at least put that money into the bank and then we would have made interest? And he takes the talent from that one guy and he gives it to the guy who has 10. Here is the principle that I think Jesus is trying to explain to us. Everything that we've been given, whether it is our talents that we have, meaning our abilities, whether it's the time we've been given, whether it's the finances we've been given, has been given to us to do something for God's kingdom. We're to invest those things back and make something of it. And without question, this building that God gave to us almost 10 years ago is one of those talents. It's a resource. And the question is, what are we doing with this resource? Are we using it to its maximum capability? And we believe that we have not yet been using this building to its maximum capability. Let me explain. We've done a lot of work on the inside of the building. We've made it look very friendly and homey inside. We've invested finances into the sound so that it sounds good, so that it looks good. We put money into our video ministry. That's how you're watching me right now. But we really haven't done anything to the outside of the building. Let me give you an example. This is a picture of our building in 1992. Now, if you look carefully at this picture, while you can see that the cars are a little bit older, it is essentially exactly the same on the outside. This building hasn't changed in 30 years. Now, here's the thing. When people come to LifePoint Christian Church, I hear this all the time. They come in and they meet all of the people here at the church, and they're like, wow, these are some of the nicest people I've ever met. They come into the auditorium, they see the classrooms, and they go, I had no idea it was so nice in here. The problem is our building doesn't represent who we are as a church. We're a church full of young people. We're a church full of young families. We're a church full of middle-aged people, and we're a church full of very wise older people. We have a great mix of people. But unfortunately, our building doesn't convey that on the outside. And we want to change that, and that's what Next is all about. Because we believe if we make this investment into the facility, it will help provide a foundation for us to be an effective church here for years and years and years to come. It's possible that the reason we're in this building right now is because the church that was in front of us, that had this building for 30, 40 years, failed to do that, failed to see that they needed to continue to reach the next generation, they needed to continue to be relevant, they needed to upgrade and modernize their facilities so that people would see them for who they are. And that's what we want to do. Let me show you real quick what we have in mind. First of all, you're looking at here is a site map of the current building the way it is right now. Up here on the top, you can see that we have the auditorium. You see the stage there on the right. You see the Sir Cafe there on the left. And down below, this is the front section of the building, which has our children's ministry in. You see the restrooms and the entryway. Just in case you're interested in knowing, this top part of the building was built in the 70s, and this bottom part was added in 92. That's the current facility. Okay, there's the top part, the auditorium, and here is the front part of the building. And the front part of the building itself is 2,790 square feet total. Okay? Now here's where we're going to change. So take a good look at this, and I'm going to flip this on the screen so you can see it change quickly. This is what we're hoping to do with the building upgrade. So you can still see the auditorium looks the same, but we've expanded this front part of the building. Off to the left here, which is the south part of the building, we want to add a nice foyer. And over here on the right side, which is the north side of the building, we want to expand out and add some additional space for our children's ministry. Let me show you kind of how this compares to the building that exists now. These red vertical lines here are the existing current walls of the north and south part of the building. So you can see all of this here on the right and all of that on the left will be new and expanded. It results in an additional 2,632 square feet, roughly, of new facility. 2,600 square feet of new facility. That works out to about 2,100 square feet of foyer space. You can see there on the south side of the building, or there on the left of the screen, 1,500 square feet of brand new foyer space. I'm going to show you what it's going to look like in a second. And then 650 feet of this sort of secondary foyer space. This is actually the current foyer area, but it's been expanded out just a little bit to create a little bit more room. I don't know if you've noticed this, but on Sunday morning, if you're here in the building, there's a little bit of a bottleneck there. Now, when you look at the square footage of the children's ministry currently, it's 1,350 square feet currently, but when we add to it, it will add about another 1,000 feet of square footage to the children's ministry space. And one thing that we're very excited about, and the kids are excited about, is having a new playground over here. You'll see on sort of the south part of the building. We want to create a nice space over there for a playground that people will be able to use before and after church. They'll be able to see that space from the foyer, and people will be able to hang out a little bit more. Now you might think, why do we need extra foyer space? What's that all about? Well, we really believe that people need to meet more and spend more time talking, encouraging each other, praying for each other. Right now, people sort of tend to just get right out of the building and go home because there's really nowhere to hang out. So we really want to make an opportunity for people in this new space. Here is a line drawing of what we believe that new foyer will look like. This is obviously, some of these things might change a little bit, but just to give you some perspective, this area right here is actually the current entryway of the building. Okay, so you can see we're going to take down the portico, I think you call that, so that drive-through area, and we're going to make this the front part of the building. So you're looking at this building from this vantage point. There on the left is E.E. Williamson Road, and here horizontally is Myrtle Lake Hills Road. So when you're looking at that part of the building, you're looking from that direction. Now, from this other direction, you can see how this attaches to the current auditorium. There, that building there on the left, you can see that window. That's actually the window to the kitchen where the Stir Cafe is. And you can see how this building attaches to that one. You're looking from this direction there. Hopefully, that makes sense to you, because I know it might be difficult since you're not in the building to visualize it now. Now, what we want to do with this is we want to really, this is not about just trying to look fancy like a church, but this is really about curb appeal and making sure that as people go by, they're proud to have our church in their neighborhood, and we look like we're being responsible with our building. We want to make sure that it fits into the neighborhood. And so this is what we believe it would look like once it's finished. Again, some of this might be slightly different, but what you can see here is a nice tall ceiling. You can see windows. You see some nice textures there, across there. And then, of course, most important to kids is this playground area. Although this playground area will probably be moved over into that area closer to the foyer. This is just one of the initial drawings that we had. It will look like this from the inside. I don't know if you can see that, but there's sort of a short little walkthrough that shows you inside of the foyer what it might look like. You can see out through the windows there, the play area, maybe a little place for coffee. Back here, there's a pass-through that takes you through to the kitchen. You head down this main hallway here. There's an additional room off to the right here that could be used for Sunday school, could be used for a lot of different things. Bathrooms on the left, brand new bathrooms for both men and women. And then this is the current foyer, but it's expanded. The ceiling is raised a little bit. That's the children's wing down there, completely isolated. Well, I shouldn't say isolated. It's just completely separated from everything else for safety. You've got a check-in station here, and you can see just a nice, clean look that represents more of who we are as a church. This is a look of that foyer area there too, and then sort of the inside of the foyer. So hopefully you can see and you can understand what we want to do is just sort of bring our building to a place where it fits a little bit more of who we are. Let me show you a little bit of the children's area specifically so that you can get an idea. Now, if you look at this, we're zoomed in on the lower portion of the building, the part that is going to be new. Okay, this door here in the middle leads to the children's wing. Here we would have the fuse room. Nice room there with a stage built in. We've got good storage there. This would be for our 4th and 5th graders, for example. No, who's it for? First through 5th, okay? That's 1st through 5th. I will say this room down over here, maybe the 4th and 5th graders can go to that room. That's right, correct. Okay. Then down here, we've got what would be like Fuse Junior. Okay, Fuse Junior, nice size room with storage here in the middle. And then we have our infants and toddlers room here. Something that's exciting about this is the children's wing would have its own bathrooms, and these would be like family-style bathrooms. So, you know, you could go in there with your kids, take care of changing them if you need to, help them go to the bathroom. Not necessarily men's and women's bathrooms, but children's bathrooms. And then here's that additional room that I showed you. This room could be used for a lot of different things. It could be used, say, for Bible study meetings during the week in the evenings. It could be used as a Sunday school room on Sunday mornings. It could be used by the youth and the teens for their stuff, or the college and young adult ministry. Just a nice room that's sort of multi-purpose. And one thing that we're really excited about is just having some additional storage. That is something we don't have a lot of in the building as it is now. Here's some storage space here in between these two sets of classrooms, storage over there, and then storage up there by the foyer. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, all right, this is interesting. Sounds good, looks good, but how do I fit in? What does this have to do with me? Well, we were asking, first and foremost, that you would pray about this project. It's really, really important. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit your way to the Lord and your plans will be established. That we need to put this in front of God first. We need to make sure that this is something that He wants. Now, I will say this. We've been praying about this as a team and as a leadership group for months and months, and every time God keeps throwing the doors wide open, opportunity after opportunity, green light after green light. So we are excited about it, but we would love for you to pray with us as well. So many different things to pray for. For example, we're going to do a 24 hours of prayer event on Saturday here. And we need you to sign up for that. Let me tell you how that works. On Saturday at 10 a.m., we're going to come to this building and we're going to be outside and we're going to go to some of the strategic areas on the property where they'll be building projects. So, for example, we'll stand in the foyer area. We'll stand in the children's wing area. We'll stand on the playground and some other areas. And we're going to get together with some guided prayer opportunities as a church. And that kicks off the 24 hours of prayer. And then what we want is one person or one family saying a prayer at least one time for each 30 minutes all the way until Sunday morning at 10. So we have somebody praying in each half-hour block all through the night for this project. Now, we have some spots that are still available, and what I would love for you to do is if you're watching this online, you can scan this with your phone. It will take you directly to an opportunity to sign up, or you can go to LifePointChurch.com and then click on the next button, and it will take you to a bunch of stuff, but you can find a place to sign up for the prayer, the 24 hours of prayer there too. And you can also download the prayer guide that guides you each week about how we're going to pray. Now, the second part, obviously, is we're asking our LifePoint family to give. A project like this obviously has a cost, and we need to pay for it. And we're asking every single LifePoint family to give in 3 different ways. We're asking people to give courageously. What does that mean? Courageously means we want, on March 6th, which is this Sunday, which is our Commitment Sunday, we want people to be emboldened to write the largest check they've ever written for a church building project ever, because we're hoping to have an unbelievable Sunday offering just to kick this thing out. Now remember, like I always say, this is not a pressure moment. This is between you and God. But I would ask you to pray and say, God, what is it that I could give to kick off that Commitment Sunday? And I want to give it courageously. Secondly, we're hoping that people will give consistently. Besides for the commitment gift on March 6th, we're hoping that people will make a commitment to give each month for the next 25 months on behalf of this project. So for example, some people will say, well, I'll give $50 to kick it off, and I'll give $50 a month for the remaining 25 months. And if that's the amount, for example, that God lays on your heart, that's a great amount. Some people have said, well, I'll give $1,000 to kick off the project, and I'll give $500 a month. And if that's the amount that God lays on your heart, that's a great amount too. And believe it or not, people have committed even more, say $10,000 and $1,000 a month for 25 months. There are some exciting pledges that have already come in. I'm going to share with you a little bit about that in a moment. But whatever God lays on your heart, we're asking that you would make a consistent, faith-activating gift for this project, because we believe it will help ensure this church stays a Bible-believing light here in this community for years and years and years to come. And there's one last way we're asking each person to give, and that's creatively. You know, a lot of people say, well, I can't write a check. I don't have anything in my bank account. But I do have something that I could sell and donate to the church. For example, one person's already donated a piece of property that they didn't need. You might have something that you don't really need anymore. It's just taking up space in your garage, or you've been thinking about selling it anyway, maybe a car, a camper, a boat, comic book collection, baseball cards, antique instrument, jewelry, who knows? But the point is, you can also give creatively. Or, for example, you can give stocks as well, which is a great way to give, and it will actually save on your taxes too. You can ask us about that. So the projected cost of this building initiative is $800,000. We believe that $800,000 will pay for all the things that we're trying to do. And we're going to do that at two levels. What we're hoping is that we receive $500,000 worth of commitments from the LifePoint family. $500,000 of commitments over 25 months for this project. And then we're also planning on receiving a $300,000 loan from an organization called Christian Financial Resources. This is an organization that we've been working with for years. As a matter of fact, they helped plant LifePoint Christian Church, and they helped get us into this building. They're more than business partners, they're ministry partners with us. And they're willing to donate this amount, or excuse me, not donate, but loan this amount to us, which gives us a total of $800,000. Now, I have some exciting news, and that is we have a number of pre-commitments already. So whenever we do an initiative like this, we'll go to the staff first, we'll go to the leadership, to the elder team, to some key core people, and we'll share the vision with them just a little bit early so that we can build some momentum going into Commitment Sunday. Here's what's really cool. Our pre-commitment level so far is $210,000 from 18 individuals and families. That's an amazing number. Here's what I'm telling you. We're trying to raise $500,000 for this building project. We already have $210,000 in commitments. That means that we are 42% of the way there already, and we haven't even reached Commitment Sunday. That's huge. What does that tell you? It tells you that the leaders of this church, the staff here at this church, including myself and my wife, we are bought in. We've made our commitments. We've made, courageous commitments. We've made these consistent commitments. We've tried to be as creative as possible because we really believe in this project. Now, one last thing. You might be wondering, well, I'm an online viewer. I don't even come to this building. Why should I make a commitment to a building that I don't attend? Maybe you just watch online. Maybe you're not able to get out to church. Maybe you don't even live in the area, but you've appreciated and enjoyed the ministry here at LifePoint Christian Church. Well, first of all, your decision to make a commitment to LifePoint is obviously between you and God. But secondly, I would encourage you to think of it this way. The church is more than a building. Yes, we're trying to expand our building, but the point is the mission that we have is much bigger than that. We're not building this extra piece of the building. We're not expanding it so that the building grows. We're expanding it so that the kingdom of God grows. We're expanding it so that for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or until Jesus comes back, people in this neighborhood will be able to come into a place and receive grace and receive the gospel, have a chance to be baptized, follow Jesus, and raise their children in a way that glorifies God. And you don't have to come to this building to be a part of that. You don't have to be here every Sunday to be a part of what God is doing here at LifePoint. So, what I want to do now is open it up to questions. I don't know if we've received any so far, but I'm going to check with my wife who's standing by. Have we received any questions?
The question is the auditorium changing at all?
That is a great question. The question that was asked is the auditorium changing at all? So right now, we don't have big plans for the auditorium to change. We have one idea, and that is we believe we might be able to remove the ceiling and treat sort of the attic space with insulation and paint and raise this roof just a little bit. That would probably depend on the amount that was raised. If we get everything that we're looking for, or maybe even more, then most likely we would be able to do that. And by the way, there are a few sort of like special parts of this project that if we do a little bit better, we might do. For example, we're kind of thinking, ooh, maybe we could build a pavilion on the property somewhere. Maybe we could expand the play area. Maybe we could do some special things with parking. Some of that would depend on the amount raised, but at this point, we don't have any plans to change the auditorium. Do we have any more questions? I know there are a few other questions that people had asked that I'm going to address now. For example, people are wondering, well, when would this project start? So if we receive those commitments and we reach our goal, Christian Financial Resources is prepared to make that money available pretty quickly. Now, there's some things we'd have to go through. There's permitting, finding a general contractor, and doing some of those things. But we believe we may be able to break ground as early as late summer or early fall of this year, which is pretty quick. And we believe the project could take about a year to complete. Other people have wondered, well, will this interfere with Sunday morning services? We don't believe it will interfere with Sunday morning services for two reasons. One, we're not doing much in the auditorium. But probably the way the building is laid out, we'll sort of section off one part while that's being worked on. We'll get everybody, all the children, into the other area on Sunday mornings. And then once that's finished, we'll switch them over and block off this other part while it's being finished. So we believe we can do those things all at the same time. I can't think of any other questions that people have had, but I will tell you this. We're very excited about it, and we want you to be involved. If you do have additional questions, you can text them to that number that you see on the bottom of your screen, 407-988-0991. Or, of course, you can contact me at the church office. You have another question? Okay, we have another question. So exciting. Yes?
How will we accommodate parking as the expansion is going to use up some of the current property used for parking, and more people will be coming to LifePoint as well, needing parking?
Okay, it's a great question. Let me summarize. How are we going to handle parking if we utilize some of the space that's for the new facility where people park? And how are we going to do that if more people come to LifePoint? So we did the calculations on this, how many parking spaces we need versus how many people can be in the building at one time. We definitely have enough spaces. There's a site plan that shows that. As a matter of fact, I think I can find it. Just give me a second. Let me go back. Back here. Okay. All right. I don't know how well you can see this, or maybe we can put this up just on your screen to look at. You can see some parking here. We're not saying that this is necessarily going to be paved. We're not exactly sure how we're going to do this. But I believe here there's about 70 or 75 parking spaces, which is more than enough room for us to fit in one service. If LifePoint grows, which, by the way, we would love LifePoint to grow. If it grows, well, it's easy for us because we just add an additional service. You might remember that when we first got here, well, for the first several years here, we did 2 services because we were a church of about 250 or 260 people. So we will definitely have enough parking. And the truth is, that foyer area that we're building onto the south part of the building, there's only a few cars that typically park there. We've actually added a bunch of parking over by the annex that doesn't exist now. And then this is the typical parking here. So we'll definitely have enough space. We've checked in that, but that's a great question. All right, that was the last question we had, but I do thank you for tuning into this presentation. If you have questions, you can send them to that number. You can email me. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, all those places. One more time, I want to say thanks to Tamara, thanks to Zach, thanks to Stephanie, thanks to Brett who came out to help with this. And we'll sign off for now. Hope to see you on Sunday for Commitment Sunday. And just ask that in the meantime you would be praying about what God would lay on your heart